So we move into double digits for match weeks in Sky Bet League One. It's time we sit down and break down all of the action from the weekend just gone. Let's go. Thank you so much for the recent support here on the podcast. Every single Sunday we sit down and chat about the weekend's football in the division. I can tell you 62% of the people that watch the podcast aren't yet subscribed. If that's one of you, please make sure you do that. We're so close to 6,000 subscribers and I'd love to hit that after this video. It would be incredible. Let's begin with the first game, Stevenage against Oxford United. So it finishes Stevenage 1, Oxford United 3. The XG for the match 1.37 to 1.88. Oxford sail past a potential banana skin, earning a statement 3 points on the road at Stevenage. I'll explain further later on, but Liam Manning is a genius. I want to dive into his huge tactical decisions in this game in just a few moments' time. Let's touch on Stevenage first. The first 15 minutes is exactly what we expect from a Steve Evans side. Well organised, well drilled and full of energy. The reaction after taking the lead was slightly out of character. They got swallowed up by an Oxford side really starting to gain control of the game. They failed to find an effective rhythm in the second half and chased the game for large spells. Sloppy mistakes and lacklustre defending cost the home side in the end, an aspect of their game that normally we associate being really strong. For Oxford United, I don't want to sound like a broken record and keep repeating myself every single week, but this feels like another statement win. Oxford have a very tough record against Steve Evans' side. Gillingham caused us so many problems managed by Evans in the last couple of years in League One, and we've notably struggled against teams defending in a low block. To react so positively after going 1-0 down shows not just an improvement on previous campaigns, but this season as well. Cambridge and Port Vale, Cambridge I come back to, was a very torturous game against a side playing very direct, similar to Stevenage, and also defending so well in that low block. To go 1-0 down and then still come back and fight back to earn 3 points, like I say, shows an improvement on issues we've had under previous managers and previous seasons, but also that we saw on the opening day only a few weeks ago. A change in formation, another switch in style. It was another extremely pleasing display, and like I said in the introduction, Liam Manning's tactical switch is so important. More on that in just a few moments' time. Let's touch on the momentum graph brought to you by SofaScore. The graph reinforces the fact this was such an intriguing game of football, with both sides having significant spells of dominance in the game. But Oxford were able to take advantage of those key moments. The best sides punished the opposition when on top, and right now Oxford have been one of the best at doing such a thing. So it's time to speak about Liam Manning and the brilliant work that he showed us tactically. He showed us once again there is another tactical string to his bow, a side able to compete physically with one of the most physical sides in the league, but also remain tidy in possession with plenty of progressive outputs. Throw a change in formation in there as well. He got everything spot on. The best way of showing you that formation is by looking at the average positions. We like doing that here on the roundup, so you can see on the screen now, these are the Oxford United average positions. We switched to an expansive 3-4-2-1, as shown here. Now, I said in a preview before the game, we won't change formation. We've been stuck in our ways in playing the 4-2-3-1, and it's worked so well. Just look at the league table and look at the results home and away against lots of different type of opposition. But we changed to a 3 at the back, a formation that was used a lot under Liam Manning with MK Dons. The change in formation allowed the height to remain in that starting 11. Brown could remain in the team, Moore would remain in the team, and Lee would come in, be a danger from set pieces and balls into the box. If you've watched the goals, I mean, 2 of those players were goal scorers, and again, balls into the penalty area were a pivotal reason why Oxford claimed all 3 points. The wing-backs provided the width and ability to stretch the play. The overlap on each flank gave Oxford another way of breaking down a well-organised, well-drilled Stevenage setup. The attacking players looked to cause problems inside, taking a more narrow approach, knowing the width would come from elsewhere. It was very clever, and this change in formation allowed Oxford to play less passively, but also deal with the physical Stevenage questions that would be asked throughout. Let's take a look at the statistics, because when playing Stevenage, duel numbers are normally a very telling stat. Oxford won more aerial duels at 25, total duels at 56, tackles at 18, interceptions at 7, and clearances with 28. Oxford needed to battle, and battle they did. A fantastic display on the road. Stevenage disappointing to lose at home. They've been fantastic all season and for large parts of the campaign so far, but it finishes Stevenage 1, Oxford United 3. It finishes Port Vale 0, Bolton Wanderers 1. The XG for the match 0.73 to 0.72, very tight on expected goals. They made hard work of it, but Bolton found a way to earn an important 3 points on the road. Let's touch on Port Vale first. More will be explained when looking at the graph, but Port Vale were a different side in the second half. This was very literally a game of two halves. After hardly getting a kick in the first 45, they struggled to create a number of clear-cut chances after half-time. Did cost them massively. The second half display proved Andy Crosby can get this team playing some very attractive football. It's a matter of goal output away from being a very special afternoon. Let's touch on the winning side, Bolton Wanderers. I'm sure most Bolton fans were having Reading deja vu, if you like, but this time they got over the line. It won't be the most attractive 3 points that Bolton earned this season, but grinding positive results isn't a bad trait to show. The lack of control in the second half will be frustrating because Ian Evatt does tend to build this Bolton side with a level of bravery to dominate and dictate the tempo of the game. But every now and again, an ugly win on the road against Port Vale that have been very good this season isn't bad whatsoever. Let's touch on the graph in front of you now. As I mentioned earlier, this is a game of two halves. It comes to mind straight away, a cliche in football, but it's so true and can be visualised when looking at the graph in front of you now. Bolton in total control in the first half and Port Vale dominating every aspect of the game after the break. When looking at the stats, the most frustrating statistic for Port Vale will be 0 big chances created across the 90 minutes, and when they had so much control in the second half, again, 0 big chances being created. With 66% possession and 9 shots after the break, Port Vale failed to create a crucial number of goal-scoring opportunities. The big difference in this game is an obvious one. Both sides had an opportunity to make the game their own, but Bolton's clinical edge proved crucial. As always on these roundups, delving deep into key players is really important. I'm sure it will make a few Port Vale fans switch off, but let's speak about Forrester and of course Baxter as well. Forrester was superb against his former club. He won 100% of his tackles, he made 2 blocks and 4 clearances, a total of 10 defensive actions across the game as well. That's the most out of any other player on the pitch yesterday. When summing up and giving my final point, it's important to mention the injury hit squad that Bolton are dealing with at this moment in time. This type of result is a big confidence boost for the wider and deeper aspects of this squad, and again, those players looking to step up when teammates do return to fitness. For Port Vale, the assertive second half display will provide plenty of positives and certainly highlight the area that could be improved to change the outcome going forward. In the next one, it finishes Peterbrough 2, Bristol Rovers 0. The XG for the match 2.08 to 0.88. It was job done for Peterborough as they beat a very angry Joey Barton. Let's touch on Posh first. It won't be the best Posh performance all season, and similar to Bolton, it was about effective game management. Ironically, in the Clarke-Harris Derby, if that's going to stick, clinical finishing made the difference for the home side. Bristol Rovers. If shooting practice is not on the agenda next week, it never will be. They were so wasteful in front of goal. You felt the longer Bristol Rovers didn't convert an opportunity, the more desperate and snatchy the away side would become in the attacking third. A lack of composure, a lack of luck and confidence up top is the biggest reason Rovers travel home with nothing. When looking at the graph in front of you now, the graph does illustrate both sides having chances and spells in the game, but the lack of edge from Rovers in the final third leaves that dominance being meaningless. Interestingly, Bristol Rovers started the game the strongest, but failed to create and cause Posh any early problems, a trend that continued as the game progressed. When looking at the statistical side of this match, the possession stats also show a very even game. 50% possession, exactly. Quite rare that. But the attacking numbers paint a very different picture. Bristol Rovers only having 2 shots on target from 16 total efforts is an extremely damning ratio. Missing all 3 big chances further shows the careless attacking approach from Joe Barton's side yesterday afternoon. When looking at the shot map in front of you now, that scattered map also shows the amount of attempts the away side had. With that number of efforts in dangerous positions inside the 18-yard box not being taken, the reason for defeat is so evident. When players like Aaron Collins, who is the real striking force in this Rovers side, is missing chances in the second half like that, it's really tough to argue with that final scoreline. Now, I've got to touch on something away from the match sort of, an interview after the game, a quick chat on the Joe Barton and Luke Thomas incident. I had to mention it because it's gone a little bit viral, the interview that Joe Barton did on social media. Plain and simple, it's utterly pathetic man management and leadership. Players will make mistakes, players will make decisions that do cost team points, but to be publicly humiliated in that manner by your manager is unacceptable. He's a player that's been so good for Bristol Rovers this season, one of their best players, and to be humiliated in that fashion in the media for everybody to hear isn't right, and it didn't sit well with me. I don't think it sat with many people very well after hearing that I saw it on Twitter, but I imagine it went out to the radio stations as well. It wasn't very nice. It didn't sit well with me. Let's touch on the final points and sum up this game. When summing up and giving my final points on this game, Peterbrough actually have the current highest XG in the league with 11.15. So in a game where chance conversion is even more pivotal than usual, that will be such a pleasing improvement for Darren Ferguson and his staff. So the final game in real detail, Wigan 1, Portsmouth 2, the XG 0.54 to 2.11. John Mercedio's side remain unbeaten in League One now for 21 games. This time as a crucial away result at Wigan Athletic. Let's touch on Wigan first. The scoreline may suggest Wigan were always competing in this game, but other than a slight tempo increase in the second half, they never really harmed Pompey. The XG and graph will emphasise this point further in a moment, but the home side never found a consistent rhythm or gained any type of control of this match. Playing over 45 minutes with 10 men creates a, of course, massive disadvantage, whilst also losing a key cog and focal point in a team that really couldn't impact the game going forward. When looking at Portsmouth, it was a professional, tidy away performance, extending that invincible start to the season further. That's now 11 points from losing positions this season, a crucial mentality that we spoke about last week. I also used the word control a lot last week when explaining this new Messinio Portsmouth identity that's getting better and stronger and clearer every single week. And I'll use the word control again today. Away from home against a side with proven quality, the intention to control the workings of this match remained the same. Even if a shot creating action doesn't follow that dominance, the intricate identity means they can remain with the ball and remain in possession. It's so important, and like I say, this identity that John Messinio is building is becoming clearer by the week. Let's touch on the graph brought to you by SofaScore. As mentioned earlier, it's very clear which side had more consistent authority of the game. Pompey limited Wigan to very little, hence the low attack and output numbers that I'll bring you in a second. I'd also say the slight improvement from Wigan after the break was actually more of them denying Portsmouth more dangerous openings rather than them threatening the away side effectively. When looking at the stats, Wigan's attacking woes are represented clearly down to both Portsmouth's controlling identity, but also Sean Maloney's side's lack of significant firepower. The home side only managed one shot on target across the 90 minutes, 0 big chances created, and they have the third lowest XG for any League One club this weekend. We saw in the early stages of the season Wigan were fantastic at sniffing out mistakes from the opposition and playing fearlessly on the attacking turnover. It now seems a frustrating run has followed and teams have learned to play with more intensity against Sean Maloney's side and prevent the threat they can so easily cause on the break. But one individual, Alex Robertson, looks the real deal. He showed in glimpses his ability to play slightly deeper in previous weeks, but in zone 14 or that number 10 role, the man comes to life. He managed 1 assist, 2 chances created, 4 progressive passes into the final third. Alex Robertson is and looks to be an extremely exciting talent on loan from Manchester City, and I know there was real excitement when he signed for Portsmouth in the summer and later on in the summer after that real hunt for a number 10. With Christian Sadie being injured over the last couple of weeks, what Alex Robertson has done is step up and prove that he can be a starting addition in this very competitive Pompey squad. I'm also going to show you his heat map on the screen now. It shows his energetic nature and willingness to play close to Bishop but also remain an option from deep. His heat maps can see him as a number 8, as a number 10, but also collecting in that number 6 position as well. He can do everything. The structure with him in front of Morel and Pat gives Portsmouth a strong base with so much creative output as well. Say goodbye to the passive nature of Pompey's midfield that we've seen for far too long in Sky Bet League One. Alex Robertson could be the spark and creative spark that takes a midfield from being good to excellent. He's been fantastic in the last couple of weeks. Let's go around the grounds. So around the grounds we go. It finishes Barnsley 0, Blackpool 1, Derby 0, Cambridge 0. Not a good result for poor Warnside at home against Cambridge United. Exeter 0, Northampton 2, Fleetwood 1, Leyton Orient 0. Congratulations to Nappers. I was so tempted to put that one in just for him, but of course we'll go into detail further on T-Lock this week. The man is so excited, and so he should be. Lincoln 2, Cheltenham 0. They still can't score a goal. They haven't yet scored a goal in League One. I shouldn't laugh, it's an awful statistic. Peterbrough 2, Bristol Rovers 0, Port Vale 0, Bolton 1, Reading 0, Burton 0, Shrewsbury 0, Charlton 0, Stevenage 1, Oxford United 3, Wigan 1, Portsmouth 2, and Wycombe win 2-0 at home to Carlisle United, who also got a man sent off. Please make sure you leave a like and subscribe. Over 100 likes on every episode would be so fantastic. It helps the podcast grow and reach lots of different audiences. I've really enjoyed this week. Some really good games, some really good different pieces of detail that we've dived into. If you've enjoyed it, you can do those sort of things to support me as well. Till next time, I've been Jack. This has been the Jack Ward Football Podcast, and I will see you all very, very soon. Have a good week. I might see you on Wednesday for another roundup. How quick's that? Take care.